Hello everybody, my name is Melissa and welcome to my channel Hopeful Happenings. Today we're talking about 5 common mistakes that can be found when writing a scene and how to fix them. Alright, so as you probably already know, scenes are so important when writing a story. Most of your story will be in scene versus summary. About like 80% is in scene and the 20% is in summary. That's a lot of time to spend in the moment with the characters, and so we want to make sure that we're doing it right. Well, our number one common mistake is putting too many people in the scene. This is something I actually struggled with a lot because I have a huge cast in my books, in multiple books, and so I really had difficulty knowing how many people should be in the scene. Well, the rule of thumb is if it's any sort of confrontation scene, then the confrontation should be between 1, the protagonist, and 2, the antagonist. That's it. Mano a mano, one-on-one conflict. That's the best kind of conflict because it's very easy for us to follow. Okay, so you're probably thinking, that's just not a possibility. My protagonist was confronted at school and there's a ton of people in the background. There's a classroom full of kids or whatever. For me, my story often happened on a ship, so a lot of the times there was confrontation in front of a crew. The number one way to get your characters to have a confrontation one-on-one is just to delete the other characters, just put them out of the scene. But if that's not a possibility, then find ways to distract them. For example, you can describe that the other characters are off talking in a corner together, whispering to each other. Maybe they're all silently watching this, and then you don't have any interruptions. The reason why having too many people in a scene is a problem is because it does detract from the main conflict, and it is a distraction. So a second common mistake that's found when writing a scene is having interruptions. Unwanted interruptions are messy and very confusing for the reader. And we all know that a confused reader is very likely to just close the book and put it down. One way that you can keep unwanted interruptions out of your story is by making confrontation scenes with just the two people, the protagonist and the antagonist, keeping it one-on-one conflict. That way you don't have other people in the scene that are going to interrupt and detract. And another way that you can make sure you don't have unwanted interruptions is by keeping some realistic things out of a story. In real life, you might be having a very serious conversation and someone knocks on the door, or your phone rings, or you get a text. Maybe the wind is blowing and it gets stuck on your lipstick and you're trying to fix it while you yell at someone. These are all interruptions that are going to detract from the conflict, so you want to get rid of them, unless they have a specific purpose in your story. If you find that you're reading your manuscript and you do have these unwanted interruptions, it's a very easy fix. Just cut it out. Our number 3 common error in writing a scene is losing the viewpoint. Every scene should have one character be the viewpoint. If you have multiple points of view in your book, that doesn't matter. Every scene should be one character. So if you're jumping around between different people's minds in one scene, that is a problem. It adds confusion and it also adds information that we shouldn't know. If I am in the head of Stacy, then I should not know that Darren is thinking about pizza right now because I'm in the head of Stacy. I can maybe infer that Darren is thinking about pizza because, oh, I caught him staring at the empty pizza box and looking sad. But I can't actually go into his head unless I change scenes. And I only want to do that if I have multiple character viewpoints. If my story is only written in the protagonist's view, then the whole story has got to be in the protagonist's point of view. But switching the viewpoint is not the only way that you can lose the viewpoint. Another way you can lose the viewpoint is failing to provide wording that would tell us whose viewpoint it is. Author Jack Bickham described the importance of keeping the scene with one character. And I loved what he said, so I'm just going to quote him directly. He said, "Restrict the viewpoint in a given scene to a single character. It is this viewpoint character's goal which provides the starting point and central focus of the scene." If you're finding that your manuscript doesn't mention enough what point of view we're looking at here, then go through and figure out what general details can be made more specific. For example, if you have a sentence that says, "The rain poured down," I could change it to be, "The rain poured down on her face." Anything to give us a more specific viewpoint. Our number 4 common error in writing scenes is forgetting that your scene has a goal. Every single scene should have a goal and then some sort of disaster that will prevent this goal from being achieved. Sometimes when you're writing, and I do this all the time, you may write something and just go off on a tangent and let it go wherever it takes you. But in doing that, you may forget the purpose of the scene. And this is most evident when the goal of the scene and the disaster of the scene don't really match. They don't really go together. If you have trouble remembering what the purpose of your scene is, then it may be a good idea to write it down. Write down every single goal for each scene, and then it will be very easy to stay on track and make sure that your disaster applies directly to the goal for the scene. And lastly, number 5, our final common error that you can have in writing a scene is that you may just not have enough at stake. This is why having a goal for every scene written down is really helpful, because by then you will know that if the goal is worthy, then you can adjust the stakes. Remember that the scene should be important not just for the protagonist, but also for the antagonist. That way it can be a fair fight. Alright, those are 5 common errors I've found in writing scenes. I hope these tips helped you with your writing. If you found this video helpful, then please give it a thumbs up and comment below to what information you found the most interesting. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye!